My name is Mel Brown and welcome to episode 35 of my crafting podcast. This is my fortnightly vlog about knitting, crochet, yarn dyeing, spinning, weaving, anything else that seems like a good idea at the time. I'm in rural North Yorkshire in the north of England, where I live with my husband, our 3 daughters and 3 cats. You can find me on social media. On Instagram I'm Mel Brown Crafting Podcast, and also Creative Escape Retreats, and on Ravelry I am Funky40, and the show notes for this podcast are over on the group for this podcast over on Ravelry. So if you see anything that you're interested in today, any patterns or anything like that, you can click on the link that's down below here, and that will take you across to the thread on Ravelry, and there'll be clickable links there to the patterns. So, hello. I've got an awful lot to show you today, so get yourself a cup of tea and let's get started. So, new hair colour, obviously. Also, new laptop. So let's see how that goes, eh? So, first, where are they now? What happened to the projects you've already seen? Well, first of all, the memories blanket, very long-term friend, no progress on that. Less is more. This is the Amy King cardie, pattern designed for hand spun yarn. That was exactly what I'm making it with. There isn't actually any progress on this knitting wise, but I thought I'd show it to you anyway because it's just so gorgeous. There's the back, and here's the front with the sleeves that are both on the needles at the same time. So I'm halfway down the sleeves. I have made progress insofar as I have, made some more yarn for that, but I'll show you that later on in that relevant section. So that's still ongoing, no knitting progress. The slip stitch skews. So this is a pattern called Skew, which is by Lana Holden. It is, to my mind, the best sock pattern ever written. I have made loads of pairs of socks in it, but I decided to try something slightly different and to do a slip stitch version. So based on the concept that when the yarn changes colour in a self-striping yarn, for the first round of that new colour you slip every 4th stitch, which creates just a little bit of intrusion of the previous colour into the new colour's world. Okay, all finished. I showed you one last time, and do you remember I had a little wobble about the top? So all the way up you're working in the round, and every 4th stitch the first round of a new colour I slipped. What is that? But when I got to the top and I was doing the short rows which make it from skewed to straight, I thought, oh no, I can't do the slip stitches because I'm on purl rows, so I didn't do them. And then I did the rib, and then afterwards I was explaining to my husband why it looked like that, and then I thought, do you know what, I'm not sure I'm right that I can't do the slip stitches. And I thought, I don't know if that's true, and I couldn't really work it out. My fuddled brain just couldn't work it out. And I went to knit group, and my friend Elaine and I discussed it, and she said, I think you can. And I said, right, let's have a bet, just for fun. So we bet £1. Well, guess what? I lost my £1. Look, you can do the slip stitches on the short row section. So it does look, I think it's very slightly, no, it probably isn't actually. It's the same, because they're slipped. And it doesn't matter whether I slipped it on the purl side or slipped it on the knit side, and then they knitted it on the knit side or knitted it on the purl side. It didn't make any difference. It still had that effect, which is great. So I carried on up and I did slip stitches right into the rib. Now that was an interesting experience, because the slip stitches, what I'm doing is knit, 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 slip. So 3 stitches worked and then 1 slipped. Now in the rib, obviously I'm doing knit, purl, knit, slip. But I've also got what is it? It's a 2x1 rib. Yeah, sorry, not knit. Yeah, it's a 2x1 rib. So there's a 3 stitch pattern that's repeating: knit, knit, purl, knit, knit, purl. And then I'm also running that in with work, 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 slip, work, 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 slip. So trying to, do you remember that, do you ever play that game Fizz Buzz, where you sit in a circle and first person says 1, second person says 2, and then if you say a number that's divisible by 3, you have to say fizz. If your number is divisible by 5, you have to say buzz, and then if your number is divisible by 3 and 5, you say fizz buzz. I loved that game. So it's a bit like that, because you're coordinating and repeating every 3 stitches thing and repeating every 4 stitches thing. So it was an intellectual exercise. I loved it. So yeah, continue the slip stitches right up into the rib, and you can see the difference in the rib there. And although it's not the same way around, you can see the difference in there. So as an experiment, it was very successful, and I would definitely do it again. Use something like 72 grams of the yarn, so I've got 38 grams of this gorgeous stuff left. What am I going to do with it? It's not really enough to do a sock, even with contrasting toes, heels and rib cuff. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with that, and it's not the kind of yarn that would really light up anything in my blanket, because as I said before, it'll just be, you know, sort of a square that's half one colour and half another, and you know, that doesn't do justice to this amazing stuff. So I don't know what I'll do with that. I don't know. What do you think? 38 grams. And again, it wouldn't really work in a shawl or anything like that, because it's got only that many stitches before it changes. So I don't know how it would work. It'd be quite random anyway. I forgot to say at the beginning, it's a giveaway today. Doing a giveaway. I should probably put that at the header, right? I'll try and sort that out later. So that's the slip stitch skews, all finished. Very, very happy with them, and I will definitely do that again. So if anybody else wants to do that, you just follow the skew pattern, but on the first round you slip the every fourth stitch, and I wasn't trying to line them up with the geek socks, which is a similar kind of idea. I try and line them up so it's the same stitch that's slipped, but this I just didn't bother because it's all over the place anyway. So I just slipped, I just waited until I'd got 3 stitches that were definitely a different colour, and then I slipped the 4th and then carry on round. So yeah, very, very pretty. Right, enough said about those? Yeah. Apart from, of course, the yarn, which is Claire Nettleship Yarns, and I have gone and lost the ball band for it, but it's just as well I have another one. Claire Nettleship Yarns, local Yorkshire indie yarn dyer, one of my favourite yarn dyers, and I can't find a ball band for her. Oh, well, I showed it to you last week, and I'll put a link in the show notes. She does self-striping sock yarn in amazing colours and different stripe widths, so that's really handy. Right, I made a mess here now. I'll try and sort that out. So the next one you've seen before is Speckled Space. So this is a sock pattern, and I was just doing the stitch pattern. I wasn't doing the whole sock pattern. So I was using my own sock recipe, and I had got through, I believe, the first repeat, and I do them both at the same time, toe up. I got through the first repeat when I last saw you, and now they're finished. So I'll give you a close-up of the pattern. It's really pretty. So I got through 2 repeats, almost fully 2 repeats before I turned the heel, and I did it in, this is West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply, just something that was left over from a Stephen West project I did. I've actually got the ball band for that, which is, there we go, probably all seen that stuff before. It's blowing out a little bit. Anyway, that's the heels, toes and cuffs. This yarn is Claire Nettleship Yarns. This is the So Stripy colourway. It was a custom colourway she dyed for my retreat that I ran in April. And I'd already made a pair of geek socks, which I was wearing yesterday. And and this was the leftovers. So I say I finished them. I haven't run in the ends, and there's always a little bit of a looseness around the heel when you switch yarns for the heel. I haven't sewn in those ends and tightened that up, and I haven't sewn in the end yet, but they're done and I'm really, really pleased with them. I knitted, I have got some left. I did the after I turned the heel, I did the 3rd pattern repeat, and then I was getting pretty short of yarn, and I know obviously there's not enough there to do another, because it's, how many rows? It's a 32 row repeat, round repeat. There was no way I was going to have another room for another one, and I didn't want to stop it part way through a pattern, so I stopped there, transferred to the West Yorkshire Spinners, and did my favourite rib, which is a 1x1 twisted rib. Sarah, my friend, was telling me, asked me the other day, whether it's a proper twisted rib or just a cheat one. Apparently what I'm doing is the cheat one. You just twist the knit stitch, you knit the knit stitch to the back loop, and then the purl stitch is normal. And she said that if you turn it inside out, it looks like a normal rib. Whereas if you want it to look twisted on the inside, you have to knit the purl stitch through the back loop as well. I don't like purl through the back loop. It's a grim stitch. So yeah, oh excuse me, I always seem to get fibre up my nose when I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, that's just a cheat twisted rib. And then I just carried on until I got bored, really. I've still got plenty of the West Yorkshire Spinners left. So the same question with that, except probably less of a one. There's not that much left of that. I wonder what I'll do with that. I don't think there's anything much I can do with that apart from the blanket, because it really isn't enough to do anything. So I'm going to consider those finished. I'll tell you what I'll just do, is I'll just pop it on the sock blocker for you to have a look at in the traditional display fashion. Although you have to acknowledge it's not finished yet, so there are holes where there shouldn't be them. That'll be sewn up. So yeah, I'll block those this afternoon, I would think. It was funny actually knitting these at the same time as the slip stitch skews, because as soon as the yarn changes, it's like, oh, slip stitch, slip stitch. And this one it's like, oh no, don't need to change, don't need to slip stitch. I couldn't slip stitches with this pattern, it wouldn't work. But it was, yeah, knitting them both in the same day, having to remember to slip and not to slip. It's quite funny. Just looking at this, it's interesting, isn't it? That's a single stitch cable, and that one, yeah, that's the same too. It's a really interesting little line across there, isn't it? Okay, so that's those two finished. It's not socks weather. I managed to wear them last night, but I haven't really worn socks for quite a while, which is very annoying because I love socks. And to be making socks and not be able to wear them is a bit frustrating. Okay, so that's Speckled Space, finished object. Okay, next you've seen already is Lula, which is a crochet pattern. And I am using this beautiful cake. It's a gradient cake. Can you see that? It's very, very subtle. Much more subtle than I usually have. And that's probably why it's going to end up being my mother-in-law's. So, it's from these guys. I bought it at Yarndale. Oh, it's better. Faded blue. I don't know how to get that to show so you can actually show it. That's better, isn't it? Okay, so it's soft as anything. It's superwash merino and silk. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let me show you where I'm at. I'm quite a way down the road from where I was. It's a 6-row repeat, and it just keeps repeating. This is a bit looser down the end. The foundation chain must be quite loose. Hopefully Andrea will resolve all that when she blocks it. Although the pattern says you don't really need to block it. But I think for that reason alone, I might be tempted to get it blocked. So it's a really nice, easy pattern. It's one of those that's just a kind of slow plod, a reassuring pattern to revisit. I have got the instructions on these little cards, so really easy for me. These are notes that make sense to me. Tiny little card so I can see what I'm doing next, and you know when you're doing the wrong thing because it just won't look right. So yeah, very simple, very fun, and very, very subtly changing colour, although I very much doubt you can spot that because of the way the light is going. Okay, so that is good. I'm happy with it. I really love the yarn, really, really happy with it. And I think that's going to be Mum-in-law's Christmas present. I'm seeing Mum-in-law, is it July now? Soon, fairly soon, in about 3 weeks. And I think what I'll do is I'll just see if she likes it. I like to give surprises, but I think it's probably better if I just see if she likes it. Because I also dyed her, those of you, my faithful watchers will know that I dyed some yarn and spun it specifically for her. But I think I might just see how she likes that when I see it, and see how she likes the yarn that I spun for her, and see if it's soft enough and she likes the colours. And if she likes them both, then I'll probably make something out of the hand spun for her as well. I don't mind making her 2 things. I made the 2 things last year. But it's the beginning of Christmas knitting. It's a bit mad. Normally I wait till our summer holiday, which is generally August. So, but it seems to get earlier every year, and it's not a chore, it's just something I enjoy, and I'm starting to think about it. So I've already got my list going. I've asked my family, Dave and the girls, what they'd like. So it's just kind of starting, which is quite exciting for me. Sorry, the battery was dying. I've got that sorted. Yeah, the end of making things just for me, or just because I fancy doing them, and starting to do things for other people. But to be honest, I don't let people choose the patterns and the yarns. I let people choose the general concept of something they want. Because even when I'm doing obligation knitting, I'm not. Yeah, I don't do test knits or anything like that. I don't do commissions, as it were. I knit what I want to knit. So it is still quite fun. Right, where are we up to? Right, the mystery crochet along. Spoiler alert here, if you're doing the stash of shells mystery crochet along from the Crochet Project and you don't want to see how it's going so far, then look away. Pardon me. Okay, so it started, I think, the day after I last spoke to you, and then we had a second clue, and then there's another clue come out this morning, which I haven't looked at yet. I'm just looking to find out where it is. Oh, it's here. Okay, so the great thing about this is it's using up leftover yarns. Now, obviously, I have a lot of leftover sock yarn, and it is a 4-ply project. So I have put together a kind of palette of mostly blues, and it's been great because I can use things like 10, 15, and 35 grams of yarn. Now, you know, I was saying I had 38 grams left of this. It's quite often for me to have that much left, and that's really too much for a really nice yarn to put into the blanket, because the blanket is looking at about 4 grams per square. So 38 grams, that is 10 squares, isn't it, more or less? And that's nice, but if it's a really, really nice yarn, I kind of want to do something a bit more special with it. Particularly, I've got some Fibre Space fairy wings that I bought for the last Crochet Project mystery crochet along, and I have this much left of it. And again, I have put a square on the blanket in this, but it just feels like it could be destined for better things. So this kind of thing is perfect. Having said that, I haven't managed to work it into this project yet, but so there's been 2 clues already. This is the first clue, and I've used Easy Knits for this, another yarn that I absolutely love, and I had plenty left over. Yeah, that was from the Stephen West, and I had something like 70, nearly 65, 70 grams left over because I only used a small amount. So that was the first, and it's all shells, crochet shells. And then clue 2 is this. So you can see my colour theme here. These, that's a bit more purple than it's showing. These are Zalba balls. This is a lovely mini that my friend Sarah gave me in our swap. And then we're back to the Easy Knits, and this is a lovely mini from Sarah. So yeah, it's lovely. It's shells, it's lacy, it's can't wait to see the third clue. I'm going to wait till I've got this uploaded, edited and uploaded and things before I look at that. So that's how that's going. The mystery crochet along. If you are like me, a bit too much of a control freak for mystery things, I get that completely. This is only the second one I've done, but the first one I enjoyed so much. The Crochet Project, it's Kat and Joanne. Joanne's Grace. Can't remember Kat's surname. I'll put it here. They're so innovative. They've got so many great ideas, and it's just really fun. It's really fun. And my friend Gemma B Makes podcast, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. She told me about it, and she's doing it as well, so it's nice to have someone to obsess about with it together. So that is all my knitting and crochet works in progress and finished objects. So that's actually, I haven't done this for a while, but that's a WIP count, work in progress count of 4. And I was looking back because I'm really fascinated by this. I seem to have these bursts of starting new things and bursts of finishing off new things. They usually come in the other order, so I finish off a load of stuff and I just keep finishing things. I don't start anything, I just keep finishing things, and then I cast on a load. Last time I spoke to you, I had 5 works in progress, the time before 4, the time before 5, and the time before 4. It seems that that's a pretty static number for me. I wonder if that's my natural place to have that many going, and if I've got more I just kind of feel the urge to rush and finish them. Don't know. Going through a process of trying to understand myself at the moment. I'll talk a bit more about that later. Okay, so that's knitting and crochet stuff. So if that's all you're here for, nice to see you. Okay, spinning. So, have I done actually any more spinning, or have I just done some plying? You saw the less is more, the sleeves. Need more yarn for the sleeves. So what I've done is I dyed some yarn, and I spun it and plied it, and there it is. So this is, let me get you a sleeve. This is where the sleeve has got to, here. And I've dyed this to go next to it to pick up some of the pinks and the purples and just kind of make it a link between what I want to do is to finish on something similar to how the bottom finishes, which is a red and orange and yellow. So I'll then be able to do a last yarn which is similar to this but links in with this. Does that make sense? So I had done split my fibre into 2 halves, and I dyed half of it purple and half of it pink, and then I split half the pink and half the purple, and I spun half the pink, half the purple, so it's same weighted fibre, and then I spun the other half of the pink and purple onto a different bobbin, so the same weight of fibre. They should have been roughly the same yardage, but they weren't, and that just shows how inconsistent my spinning is, which is fine. This is what hand spun is about. And when I had plied these 2 together, I'd finished the first bobbin, and the other bobbin still had plenty on it, which shows how inconsistent I am. So I picked up, do you remember the aubergine water yarn? Bizarre concept from last time. I had some of that aubergine fibre singles left, so I plied the aubergine with what remained of the pink and purple, and that's what I got. So it's a much darker look. There's a lot of the marled stuff. I really like that. So what I figured is I would do this next to that, because it really does pick up the dark purples, and then do that, and then the red and yellow thing that's going to link it to the end. That's the plan. But as you know, if you've watched before, the plan is ever changing. So that's the spinning that has been done. But the spinning thing is about to take off massively, which I will talk about in a bit. So that's the aubergine yarn dyeing. Now, I had my friend Sarah over here this week because she wanted to dye some fibre and some yarn, and I'll put some pictures in here of what she dyed. And I just threw in some stuff every now and then while she was doing it, and then I did, after she left, I did some more for myself. So I'm going to show you those, and this is the giveaway. So I'll show you first of all the fibre. I mostly did this after Sarah had gone. This is for the Tour de Fleece. So I'm trying to get myself in a knot here about when I'm going to talk about Tour de Fleece. Let's talk about it now. Tour de Fleece is a spinning event which it happens concurrently with the Tour de France. So every day the Tour de France is on, which is tomorrow for 3 weeks and 1 day. So from Saturday to 3 weeks and Sunday. And every day you spin, and you're in teams, and you count up the meterage, yardage, whatever, of what you've spun, and add it all up together. And I don't know, there's some kind of a competition, but that's not really the point for me. The point for me is to encourage me to spin, and I'm aiming to spin enough fibre to make the velvet raglan sweater, which is a crocheted sweater in chunky yarn, and I think that my yarn approximates the chunky. Obviously it's very variable, but really you kind of have to have the hook or the needles for the bigger part of it, because it's okay to have it a little bit open, but I don't particularly want it to be too dense. Having said that, part of the sleeves are pretty dense on my lesses more, but I wanted to have a bit of drape, so I'm going to go with a chunky weight pattern, and I want to spin enough to make that. Now, of course, I've got no idea how much yarn I'm going to need, so I have spun roughly 600, sorry, I have dyed roughly 600 grams. Now you can probably see a bit of a theme coming here. So I have I dyed another rainbow of fibre, roughly 100 grams in each. They're lovely, aren't they? And I'm hoping that that will be enough for the sweater. I weighed the lesses more, and I worked out it'd be about 8 or maybe 900 grams, but that's a lot denser. It's knitted. Now, of course, crochet uses more yarn, but the I'll put a picture of the velvet raglan sweater in here. So it's a lot less dense. So I think I'll get away with it. If not, then I will just have to think of something else. But I'll probably know fairly soon whether it's going to work out or not. So that is the dyeing of fibre I did, and I'm going to tick off the plans for the Tour de France, because of Tour de Fleece, because I've got that sorted. Also, what I tend to do with yarn, I haven't dyed much yarn for a while. I do custom dyes for if I'm doing a project. I dyed some specifically for the last Stephen West I did, Exploration Station. But generally, the yarn dye I'm doing at the moment is really just kind of using up the dye. No Dye Left Behind is my favourite dyeing YouTuber. Chemnitz, Rebecca from Chemnitz says no yarn, no dye left behind. I just tend to soak it up by throwing a skein in. So I had a skein. You will have seen it before. I'll see if I can find a picky to put in here. But just in case I didn't. It was blue, quite delicate blues, just whatever was left in the pot, and then I just dropped it in, wound in a skein, dropped it in where there was some green. And I just didn't like the way it looked, so I knew I was going to have to mess with it. So I did. I messed with it quite considerably. I put it into various different dyes. I had it hanging out of the pot, so it was just soaking some up and then not for the rest of it. And then I put some Easter egg dyes in. My friend Kathy from the US sent me Easter egg dyes. Have you ever seen them, you UK people? They're just little pellets, And these lot were fizzing. You know, like when you put a bath bomb into the bath and it fizzes with its bicarbonate soda or something. These were fizzing in the pot. It was just so much fun. It's quite low immersion stuff, so I've got a skein in the water. There's not much water left in there, and then I can drop an Easter egg pellet in and it just sits there and it dyes very much the localized dye, the fibre, the yarn that's very close to it, and that doesn't spread out much, and it fizzes. Oh, it was so much fun. Anyway, this is my colourway. I'm calling it Shark Attack. Now I'm hoping that's not in too bad taste for you, because it was very blue and green and very sea oriented, and then suddenly there's this splash of blood. So Shark Attack is what I'm calling this. But this, beautiful though it is not really my kind of yarn, so I'm going to give it away. Now it's proper sock yarn. It's 75% superwash wool. What wool is it? I'll put it down here. And 25% nylon. So, and I have knit with this stuff. It's very nice. And the rest of the colour, you can see for yourself. I don't know how good a representation that is, but yeah, blues and greens with an occasional inappropriate splash of red. So there it is. This skein is up for a giveaway. I will post it worldwide, so wherever you are, you can take part. I'm going to draw it in 2 weeks when I do the next podcast. I should actually have checked with my diary to see when exactly, but I'll put the date up here. It'll be 2 weeks, and I will put a date. Actually, don't worry about that. I'll put a date in the thread. So one of the things I want to do with this is I want to support Ravelry. You'll know, if you've been involved with Ravelry recently, that they have taken a stand against Trump, Donald Trump, and I support them in that. And if you don't, then I apologise. I hope I haven't offended you, but this is how I feel. And I'm going to continue to have all my show notes over in Ravelry and my group in Ravelry, and I'm going to host this giveaway from Ravelry as well. So if you don't already have a Ravelry user ID, you can just make up something, the first word that comes into your head, and a password, and you can just go across there and just use it once. If you don't already use Ravelry. If you do, click on the link below to go over to the show notes, and then for this episode thread, all you need to do to take part in the giveaway is to make a comment on this episode thread, and what is the comment on? Oh yes, I wanted to achieve something else. There's a little bit of market research. So you probably know, if you've watched before, that I teach sessions on all kinds of crafts. I would like to know whether, I think crafters tend to be lifelong learners. We tend to be people who are always learning something new, a new craft, a new technique, a new pattern, a new something. We're always challenging ourselves and learning something new. If you had the time and the money and the energy to go on a craft course, 2-hour session, or maybe a 10 till 4 whole day, what would you like to do a session on? What subject would you like to do? What craft, what technique, what pattern, whatever. This is market research. I'm not going to contact you and offer you a date. It's market research to find out what kind of thing crafters are looking to learn. So all you have to do to take part in the giveaway is to go onto that thread and make a comment on the episode thread saying what kind of things you would like to learn. And then what I'll do is, when I record the podcast in 2 weeks' time, I will draw at random a winner from that, and I will then announce that on the podcast, and then I'll contact you and you can give me your address and I'll post you this little fella. Okay, so the other one I did was quite funny. I dropped a skein in and it was blue. It looked bluey, tealy thing, and I just dropped it in dry and just let it slowly sink in. Now the thing with dropping it in dry is that it takes quite a while for the colour to actually penetrate to the bits that are on top, so it tends to be quite a tonal effect. It doesn't hit the yarn all at the same time, and it's roughly similar colours. It hits the yarn at very different rates, so different parts of it are very different coloured, and it looked like toothpaste. It was kind of aqua and white. It was absolutely lovely, but I couldn't leave it there, and I can't. So I said, you're not going to leave it there, are you? I said, no, I'm not. So I did loads of other things to it, and this is how it came out. So losing a lot of the variations in it. It's quite a deep blue there. There's a green section. Oh yes, it's quite a solid green section there. So yeah, again, not definitely my kind of yarn, but it's okay because I know who's getting it. But this, on the kind of dye one skein, okay, that's a bit better. Thread thoughts. This kind of stuff is just so easy to do, and it's so much fun. If you've never dyed yarn before, this is definitely a great way to just have a go at it and to dye one skein, because it's a bare sock yarn. All you need is a little bit of citric acid or vinegar. If you've got white vinegar at home, you don't even need to buy that. And then some food colouring, and you can just chuck it in. And again, I think I use some Easter egg dyes here, so just drop the pellet on top and just let it fizzle. If you're not in the US, then get a US friend to send you some Easter egg dyes, or you can just drop a bit of dye into the dye bath and just let it slowly take. It's just fun. It's just really good fun. Okay, so that is yarn dyeing. So the Sea View has a home. Sharp Attacks to give away. Right, okay, that's the yarn dyeing and fibre dyeing. Weaving. I did a workshop on weaving yesterday. It was really good fun. And it's just, I love it when people do something different to what I've seen before. And that whenever I am with somebody and that I'm showing them weaving, they always do something. The people that are there always come up with something completely different to each other. It's like an art form rather than a craft. Anyway, my brother and sister-in-law were here a couple of weeks ago, and I got them both set up with a weave. My sister-in-law loved it. She took it home and she's finished it. She just needs to run the ends in. My brother enjoyed it while he was here, and it was really nice to watch him because he works very long hours and he doesn't really have a sort of easily achieved creative hobby, which I think is really good for stress relief. So it was really nice to see him sat there just weaving. But he didn't want to take it home with him, but he wanted me to finish it off. Now he's colourblind. Do you remember the Apache Tears cushion I made? It's for him and his wife. So this is what he made. He started it, and it's monochrome, I guess, effectively, because that works for him. Got this pinwheel here. It's beautiful, isn't it? That's an under 2/2. So here, this is the warp thread just going round and round, and he's done an under 2/2 here. Basket weave, that's also known as. And then he's just gone back to a standard plain weave, and then alternated. Then I took over about here, I think. I've done a little bit of sumac there, which looks like a braid, doesn't it? And then this one, oh, this one's not as neat and tidy as I wanted it to be, because over here it looks really, and then it just gets a bit, but that's a feature of it. And then I finished off with a little knot thing, and I just need to take it off. I wanted to check to see what, it's going to miss a Christmas present from my brother, so it's pretty much the first Christmas present nearly finished, which is awesome. I just wanted to check with my sister-in-law whether he'd rather have it to hang on the wall or have it as a coaster, and he wants it as a coaster. The yellow is cotton, and the navy blue is sock yarn, so it's mostly wool. So unless it's really hot, it shouldn't do any damage to it to be a coaster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet a back for it from the yellow, like I did the green coaster. Did you see that one? And then I'll just sew those to get together, or knowing me, I'll get Linda to sew them together because I am so lazy. And then that'll be the first Christmas present done. So that's the only weaving I've done. I did start a weave at the class yesterday, and that was quite fun. But it's very, very early days. It's not worth showing you. Okay, so that's weaving. Something new. I forgot to show you something last time. My friend Linda went to Spring into Wool, I think, which is a festival in Leeds. We went to it together last year, and I didn't go this year because I was away at the spa with my husband. But she went and she bought me a present, and I forgot to show it to you. So here it is. Sorry about the crinkling and the reflection. So it's from a little bit sheepish, a British Shetland fibre pack. It's 100 grams and it's a rainbow. It's even more than a rainbow actually, because there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colours in there. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Really excited about that, and she's looking forward to seeing what I do with it. What I think I'm going to do with it is I'm going to spin it as fine as I can in the rainbow, so start at this end and go all the way through, or whatever end, and then ply it with an undyed single. So again, for those of you who don't spin, you don't just spin one thread and knit with it. You can do, but it's unusual to do that because it's not very strong, and it can be quite inconsistent. You normally spin a second and then ply them together, twist them together. So I'll probably have one single with this and one undyed, and I'll ply them together, so it'll be a light, mild rainbow yarn, and that should give me, with about say 200 grams, that should give me enough to make something. What I'm going to make with it I'll worry about next, but I know how I'm going to spin it. Actually, do you know what, if in the Tour de Fleece I run out of fibre, I can spin this, and then I can spin 100 grams of the undyed. Oh, that's something else I wanted to do, because with fibre I've done a lot of dyeing and then spinning, but I haven't done any spinning and then dyeing it, so I haven't dyed hand spun yet. So if I get through, I mean, I have no idea how much I'm going to get through in the 3 weeks. If I get through those 6 great big balls of fibre, and I'm still timing the Tour de Fleece, then I can spin that. I can spin some, because I bought a kilogram of this undyed, and that's about 600 of it. So I've still got another 400. So I could do another 100 to ply with this, and then I could do some more that I could then dye up after it's spun, to use in this project or another one. So yeah, lots and lots of plans. So that's beautiful. Thank you very much, Linda. It's really pretty. Okay, another of my friends, Adrianna, she lives in the US. She did a sock club thing for us, where we both got a surprise package of sock yarn. Now it came from the UK, so I got mine first. I don't think she's got hers yet, well, she hasn't told me she has anyway. But it was lovely, and it was such a nice surprise. So it's from, sorry about all this noise. Oh, that's an advert for yarning. It's from these guys, and included is this. Isn't it cute? It's a crochet stitch marker, so knit or crochet, because it opens up. The difference being knit ones that have a closed circle, you can just slip them onto a needle, but you can't put it into a crochet stitch. This one can be either. And it's that because the colourway is it flip-flop weather. And here it is. It's really, really soft. It's got these speckles which are immensely saturated in places. It's just such a pretty colour. I mean, pinks and purples, if you know me, you'll know. Pink, purple and teal, my favourite colours. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And it also came with a little sachet of lavender, which I had to bin because I hate lavender, but a really cute little touch for those of you, the rest of the world. It's only me and Sarah who don't like lavender. Thank you so much, Adrianna, and thank you, Dina. I'll put a link into them on the show notes as well. Absolutely lovely, and it's a surprise. I love surprises, and yeah, I'm definitely getting into this mystery thing. Really love it. It's really squishy. Thank you, Adrianna. So that's another something new. And also Sarah came to dye with me, and she gave me a bag that she'd made. The pink bags, what are they? The pink and blue bags that I use for socks, they were made by her. This is a different size, and look at the fabric, so cute. So it's a bit bigger, so it's quite useful for a bigger project, a shawl project with 2 or 3 skeins of yarn. So that's going to be really useful. And it's got these little drawstrings. So pretty. Thank you, Sarah. And also, at the beginning of the year, I decided I didn't want to buy yarn for the first 6 months of the year. I have plenty of yarn, and that's fine. That's not in itself a reason not to buy yarn. I think a lot of people do beat themselves up about buying yarn when they've already got plenty. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? Excuse me. But it's not making me happy to have yarn that I've bought wanting to do this, that and the other with it, and it's just sitting in my stash. That is not making me happy. And our hobby is meant to make us happy, right? So I have made myself happy by knitting and crocheting from stash for the first 6 months of the year. Now the only exception to that was the Claire nettleship yarn that I bought at the retreat, and you know, nobody could criticise me for that because it's just too beautiful to ignore. And I was on retreat, it was kind of work almost. I bought 2 skeins from there, and I had the giveaway, the one that I bought to give away to the guests. So that is actually the only yarn I've bought for me. I bought yarn to make things for teaching, but I haven't bought any other yarn for me. So 1st of July was kind of the end of that, and that was Monday of this week. And to be honest, I wasn't in a hurry to rush out and buy yarn, but I had put this aside at Yarn Etc. sometime in June because I just fell in love with it. And it's a silly random skein, you know, when you buy random one skein of something and you've got nothing to do with it. It's DK. I use a lot of sock yarn, but this is double knit, but it's 50% silk and 50% superwash merino. It's absolutely gorgeous. I just want to cuddle it. But I am reliably informed that Yarn Etc. in Harrogate are about to produce a book, an ebook, with 3 patterns in, and at least one of them is very good for a 1 skein of DK weight yarn. So I may be about to be rescued from having to look at it for 5 years and not do anything with it. So that's really the only thing that I've gone out and bought since my self-imposed yarn buying hiatus finished. But I don't think I'm in a rush to go out and buy anything right now. I've got so many projects lined up that I have yarn for already, and I'm really looking forward to doing those. I will almost certainly be buying yarn for Christmas presents because when I'm knitting for somebody else, I've bought the yarns in my stash I bought with me in mind, so they're not always the right colours for the people and also the right fibres and the right weight. So I will certainly be buying stuff for Christmas presents unless I can get away with using stash. But other than that, I would love to go to Yarndale and spend money there, and at the retreat in November I'll definitely be buying a lot more Claire nettleship yarns, but I'm not in a rush. So that's going to be the last purchase for a little while, I suspect, although you never can tell. Okay, creative escape, what's happening? So for those of you who don't know, this is my business teaching crafts. I have a new format I have devised. Something happened by accident. I was booked at a venue and there was a communication issue and I couldn't teach at that venue, but I had people turning up. So I walked down the road and I found a pub. Excuse me. That's probably one take filming. I found a pub and I went in there and we sat and we did a spinning session in the pub. And it was fine. But it just made me think, this is an interesting idea, crafting in a pub. So I had a look a bit closer to home and I found a pub that has a disabled toilet, and it's all on the ground floor, and they have a lovely area that we could occupy, and they're very happy for me to sit there and charge people to come along and teach them stuff, as long as they're buying teas or coffees or wine or chips or whatever. So I've started a new format of classes called Craft In. I'll put it here, then you'll be able to see it's meant to be a pun. If you can come up with a better name for it, please let me know. But the idea is it's a very informal 2-hour session on a weekday afternoon in a pub. So you can come along and you can get yourself a coffee or a glass of wine or a snack. You can come early and have lunch there, you can stay later and have beers, whatever you fancy, but it's a very informal thing. And because the venue aren't charging me anything, it's a reduced cost. Might down the road make it into a drop-in, but right now I don't have enough bookings to do that, so it's going to be a book-in thing. So that's a new format, and I'm going to be teaching mosaic crochet on my first session. Remember the Havana shawl? I'll put it in a pic here. So that's the pattern that we'd be using. So what people are paying for is an hour, 2 hours of my time and the pattern, because it's a paid for pattern, and a little bit of printing. I'll print some of the pattern and then email the rest, the PDF of the rest. And then they can just have a coffee if they want, or if they want to have a wine, they can do that too, or a beer. So that's a new format. I've also found a new venue, which is called Scrap in Leeds. It's a big warehouse, and they managed to rescue stuff that would have gone to landfill from industry, and they sell it and repurpose it, repackage it, whatever, to sell. It's absolutely brilliant, and they've got a cafe up there, and I'm going to be doing some weaving stuff there. Also, the Scrap has a disabled toilet downstairs and a lift. So basically all of my venues, all of the things that I book now will be disabled access. Because it's really important to me to make sure that people can come who are disabled. Okay, I'm doing a session tomorrow on using Ravelry. There's a lot of people you speak to and they say, "Are you on Ravelry?" And they say, "What?" Goodness me, all these thousands of free patterns and ideas for yarns and groups and whatever, and people aren't using it. So we're doing a session on that, Ravelry tomorrow. It might be just staff, not sure how formal we're going to make it, and then we'll see how it goes, and then if it goes well, we'll probably do one in the autumn or winter. So that's what I'm up to with that. I think, oh yeah, the Macra weave. You know, I showed you that Macra weave I was doing. I really didn't like it. I fell out of love with it. Wasn't feeling it at all. So I just kind of took out the weaving part, and then it's just become a practice piece. It's been sat on my dining room just behind me here, and I've just been playing with it. It's not going to be much use because it's got these great big gaps where the weaving was. But what's great about it is I've always struggled with double half hitches, which are in obviously a lot of macrame patterns. I just can't seem to get them right, but I practiced with them here and I got them right. So this is kind of the purpose of this piece. I did a diagonal one there, is to just help me to get sorted with that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it because it's on one of these little curtain pole things as well. So I don't know. I just might have to undo the whole thing. I don't know. But that is no more a work in progress. Can you hear Clyde? He's purring. Hello. You look at this pile of rubbish that I've got. This pile of stuff I've got. Oh, right. Okay. So let's just finish off with a little bit of personal stuff. If you're not wanting to do this, thank you for watching. I will see you next time. So I got a new tattoo this week. My arm doesn't go the right way to show you that. Don't know how else to do it. Okay. It's the symbol for autism, autistic pride. If you didn't know, it's still healing a little bit here. So it's a spectrum because autism is a spectrum, and it's the eternity sign to show it's the autism spectrum, autism pride sign. So I had that done in Knaresborough a week or so ago. Yeah. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. What else? Fasting. I'm still fasting, not every day, but most days. So I'm not eating between finishing the evening meal 6 or 7 p.m. through till the next day, earliest 10 a.m. usually, more like 11 or 12 11 a.m. or 12 midday before I eat, and then after that I'm eating normally. I do try not to have too much in the way of carbs at lunchtime because it makes me tired in the afternoon, but we usually eat leftovers here at lunchtime, so it's really whatever's available. And it's amazing. It's given me so much energy. It's not a problem for me at all because I really don't have much in the way of appetite these days. and since I've been doing this every day, my the appetite hormone ghrelin has reduced, and it's kind of gone away. So even when I was hungry before, I'm not now. My body's just kind of completely adapted to the fact that I don't eat in the evenings after dinner, and I don't eat in the morning. So basically I just drink herbal tea all morning, and I have a lovely lunch and then a nice afternoon. I'm going out for lunch today to meet a friend, so that'll be a lovely way to break my fast. And the energy levels I have are amazing. I didn't know how long it would last, but this might be my 5th week of fasting, 4th, and they're still there. I still have more energy than I've had in quite a while, and I've actually come off HRT because I don't think it was doing me much good. Because I was hoping that would give me energy, and it did for a couple of months, and that went away. So I'm hoping this isn't another couple of months and it goes away thing, because I do intend to keep up with the fasting because it's definitely doing me good. And there are lots of other benefits. I mean, you know, it might be something that you're horrified by, but actually research suggests it's very, very beneficial for overall health and lots of things, particularly for people like myself who are overweight. I'm actually losing some weight as well, not much, and it's not my primary aim, but I have actually dropped a couple pound, and I'm just so delighted to have more energy. So yeah, interesting. My third daughter Belle, she's always been Annie until January this year, then she wanted to be Belle, and she's now decided to go back to Annie. Just a bit confusing, but Annie, like me, we're both autistic, both Asperger's. Both only diagnosed this year, her at the age of 12, me at the age of 49. So we're still struggling. She's off from school again today, and we really are struggling with school. She gets, I wouldn't say bullied, but she gets teased and whatever for 2 things: wearing sunglasses because she's sensitive to light. People make jokes about her being blind, and there's a girl at school who pushes her sunglasses off her face every time she can, and she also gets singled out because she's gay. She's quite militant with that, and so the people's not particularly nice, and she can't cope with the noise, and just the pressure of people makes her feel sick. It's quite a common thing with autistic children. So we're really struggling getting her into school, and I'm just really trying to learn about myself again. There's lots of things about me that I didn't really know, and the autism diagnosis has helped me. Like, for example, smells. I've always known when I'm pregnant, I'm really sensitive to smells. I think that's very, very common. But outside of that, I haven't really realised that I am. But I wouldn't say that I have a stronger sense of smell. Sometimes I do smell things that other people don't. Quite often, but sometimes I just don't. I can't smell things that other people can. So it's not just so much that, it's that how smells affect me. If there's a bad smell around, I cannot relax, and I can be put off food or stuff instantly by a bad smell that other people maybe aren't even aware of. And a good smell can really make me happy, and I just hadn't known this. So what I'm doing now is I've got in the office we've got a scented candle. I've got lots and lots of incense sticks that a client I was teaching years ago gave me, hundreds of them, and I'm still getting through them 10 years probably on. I light incense sticks quite regularly in the house, and I've got a little bottle of perfume in my handbag, and I'm very sensitive to not feeling fresh. I can pick up the smallest of scents on me, of sweat or whatever, and it makes me really, really unhappy. So having a little bottle of really nice perfume, not expensive, just really nice, kind of one of those ones that stays around, is just so, makes me so happy. And it's such a small thing, and yet I really didn't know it was there, something I could use to boost my mood and cheer up my day. It's just finding out more about myself, and my headaches as well. I've suffered with massive headaches for years, and I thought they were alcohol related, but they continued even after I stopped drinking, and then I thought they were hormonal. But this last week I've discovered something quite shocking. I was having one of these awful headaches, and I went and had some quiet time and on my own. I didn't sleep, I just had quiet time on my own, and the headache went away. so one aspect, undoubtedly there are other aspects, hormones, whatever, but one aspect of my headaches is definitely overwhelmed with people and being on my own and just doing my thing, knitting, spinning, whatever, actually cures the headache. And that shouldn't be too surprising, because that's what we had with Belle, Annie, for years. Before we knew she was autistic, she was seeing a paediatrician because she had really bad headaches, and she couldn't say where they were, and they didn't respond to medication, so it was a really weird one. And it just, now it's so obvious they were autistic overload. She was overwhelmed with people and sounds and light and things, and that manifested as this head pain, and that's an element of what's happening for me. And yeah, so just kind of learning more about myself really as an autistic adult. Are you autistic? Do you know any autistic adults? Do get in touch if anything I've said sparks any thoughts for you. And on a broader note, do get in touch, please do. If you've got all this far through, then well done you, because it's been quite a long episode. If anything I've said has sparked any thoughts, you can contact me. You can respond down below in the comments, or you can respond on the episode thread on Ravelry, or you can contact me personally on Instagram or on Ravelry. Send me a personal message and have a chat. So, gosh, I think that is everything. The only thing I was going to talk about was plans, but really, other than the Tour de Fleece, I don't have many plans. I've got lots of patterns I could start with yarn I've already got, but actually the next 2 weeks I'm going to be concentrating mainly on spinning, so I hope it's not going to be a really boring episode next time. If it is, I might have to tour around my stash or do something more something more interesting than just, look, here's a load of stuff I spun. But certainly I'll be doing the crochet along as well, so there'll be something to show you. Okay, I'm going to go now. Thank you for watching, and have a great 2 weeks, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.